What's up, everybody? Appreciate you for tuning in. Back with another edition of the On the Ball podcast. We got a great show for you. We teased last week the quarterback rankings. We are going to do them. We are going to use your input. Those of you watching, what's going on, Jory? But that'll be later on in the show. We'll start with some NBA because we have one young budding superstar, well, budding star, we'll say, who got paid. And then we have another one who could potentially be on the move after what we kind of thought was a kind of dire situation, which we'll elaborate a little bit more on as we get into that topic. Plus, we got to talk about Kirk 2 Chains because he made a little bit of news with some comments that he made. So I obviously want to get Brett's opinion on that. And remember, when we do our quarterback rankings, we do want your input. We're going to rank all 32. It might have some debating going on. I don't know. But that should be a lot of fun. But before we get into all that, Brett, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. I'm excited. I'm ready to rank some quarterbacks, talk some basketball. Let's get it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's go ahead and start with the basketball. And let's start with the news that I kind of just saw as I was setting everything up. Apparently, Bradley Beal and the Phoenix Suns are headed for a divorce. Looks like Beal and his agent are close to a buyout to obviously leave Phoenix. And as the agent put it, Bradley Beal will make a quick decision on his next destination. So I guess first thoughts, was this a move that you thought the Suns were going to go and head down this road of a buyout, or do you think they're going to try to salvage something from him? Like, what are your thoughts on a buyout in Phoenix?
Makes the most sense for both parties involved. At the end of the day, Bradley Beal just does not fit there at all. And I think he could still be a great player. Just he has to go somewhere where they need scoring. And the problem with Phoenix is all they have is offense. So I definitely agree that the buyout is the right choice for both parties at this point. And, it'll be interesting to see where he goes next.
Okay. I mean, look, we've talked about before. Other shows on here have talked about how Bradley Beal was like a movable contract, like an albatross and all that. So this obviously is them ripping out the Band-Aid, obviously got to do the whole stretch provision where you're still going to pay him not to be there. Let's go on, Cottrell. But at least he's kind of gone. You can sort of look towards the future, which I guess Booker, we haven't really heard anything from. So I guess maybe Booker might stick around, or maybe once the Bradley Beal stuff happens, maybe we'll hear something about Booker. Like, I don't know. The greatest trio that didn't make sense. Exactly. Now, I will tell you, apparently the team that he's looking at recently just made a move of their own. The LA Clippers supposedly are Bradley Beal's like preferred destination, and the Clippers supposedly have interest in him as well. Some other teams I heard, your Bucks, the Lakers, the Warriors. That might be it. So, do the Clippers make a lot of sense for you? Would that be a good fit? They did just move Norman Powell. So I guess there's a need there.
I think they make the most sense. I'm sure that Bradley Beal would want to play in California in the nice weather.
Mm-hmm.
And with the Clippers just freshly moving on from Norman Powell, they need a scoring punch to replace Norman Powell. And I'm sure Bradley Beal can absolutely provide that still. It'll be interesting to see how much he has left in the tank. But actually, I think the team that makes the most sense is the Clippers. And they can offer him more money than anybody else at this point. So,
yeah.
They still have like a $5 million exception, and all of the other teams he's interested in are like vet minimum teams.
Mm-hmm. And I guess it would make some more sense to the Norman Powell deal that if they kind of knew that this was coming down the pipeline and they wanted to position themselves. Sure. I think, look, for Bradley Beal, obviously he needs somewhere else to go because Phoenix was not going to be it for him. And you just, I guess if you're a Clippers fan, you have to hope that he finds something from back in his Wizards days and can contribute. I know the Clippers were a popular team going into the playoffs last season, kind of fizzled out pretty quickly, but I'm sure they still have some aspirations for this season. Let's see. What's going on, Gene? Cottrell. What's up? It's quiet as kept. Bradley Beal is a good fit. As a good rotational piece. Playoff contender can add him as a fourth option. Positive move. Clippers make a ton of sense. Warriors as well. CP3 and Beal go to the Clippers. Yeah, CP3 does need a new team as well. Where do you see CP3? I guess playing out his final season, since he's kind of dropped that this will be the last year for him.
The thing with Chris Paul is that the first we start thinking about some contenders, but Chris Paul's such a competitor. I think he still wants to start, and I think that's really the challenge when it comes to Chris Paul. You'd have to go through and find out where can he go to, still compete, for in the playoffs, but where can he start? Ironically, the team that makes the most sense in terms of offering him a starting spot is probably just the Bucks. They don't have a starting point guard. If Kevin Porter Jr. is your starting point guard, you don't have a starting point guard. So, and then the other option is Ryan Rollins. I think that you can get, maybe Chris Paul in there for a year. Him and Giannis can split ball handling. And then he can teach two young guys on the roster a thing or two. So it's funny, but I do think the Bucks make a ton of sense. Otherwise, obviously, the other place he could go could very well just end up going back to the Clippers. Him at the point, James Harden at the 2, they can make that work again. We've seen that before. They almost knocked off the Warriors at one point with that. So overall, I could see, Milwaukee. I could also see the Clippers, or maybe just as a swan song in Phoenix, and everybody's happy.
Yeah. I mean, look, it'll be interesting to definitely see where Chris Paul does play out his final year. I mean, look, he was called the point guard and everything for a reason. So I'm sure he can add something to a young team, or, a team that feels like they're in contention, could use a facilitating point guard. Yeah, I'm sure there's be teams that he'll have options to go to. Cottrell says go back to New Orleans.
Nobody wants to see that.
Yeah. I mean, look, if he wanted to, okay, sure. But yeah, I'm gonna say that probably doesn't happen. Look, finish where it started. Yeah, it'd be a great story, but yeah, I don't think that's gonna work. I guess sticking with NBA news, guys getting paid. Paolo Banchero got his rookie deal supermax, I believe, for $239, but it's up to $284, I believe. And in order to get that, he has to win MVP or Defensive Player of the Year next season, or be an All NBA, All Defensive team member. I guess thoughts on the deal, or the odds that he hits any of those benchmarks to make it a true supermax?
I think the odds he hits the benchmarks are great. I thought he was on that pace last year, and then obviously he suffered an injury, but I think that he very well ends up getting that supermax. I fully believe in Paolo Banchero, and I think he'll earn that full 287 at some point, and I think it will be next year. He'll take that step into supermax territory.
Yeah, look, I say it every time we talk about the Magic. You have been on the Magic wagon for a couple of seasons now. And I think that next season, with the East in the shape that it is in, Banchero can absolutely break through, and he's obviously already a name in the league, but I think put more of a stamp on his name if he's able to take the Magic to where they were before the injuries last season, top 4 seed. If they could have some playoff success, like, you know, he could definitely be one of those guys that we look to and go, okay, bright young future, make Orlando more attractive, make Orlando more TV worthy, I guess. So, shout out to him. Definitely deserves it. Like, he's a great young player in this league. I know you and I have talked about, some issues in his game, sometimes shot selection and stuff like that. But that's all stuff that he can easily fix as he becomes more of a pro and everything like that. So, yeah, shout out to Paolo Banchero. Let's see more of these comments. Gene says CP3 getting the Pharaoh tour. Will it be like Paul Pierce's? I mean,
nothing will top the Paul Pierce
I
farewell
am rocking
tour.
the Paul Pierce jersey. Look here, hey. It's hard talking Paul Pierce and not really laughing these days. Jory says you want LeBron to finish it in Cleveland. Sure. I mean that whole story. We're gonna have to need to know some more about that one because this whole talk about him possibly being moved and them opting in. Do we get an announcement from LeBron at some point that this is his final season too? He, CP3, they're buddies going out together. Why not? Probably not. LeBron's gonna want a whole year to himself.
I was gonna say, since CP3 is retiring, he's probably putting it off for another year.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He doesn't want all that attention to himself. Paolo takes the leap next year. Money well deserved, in my opinion. Definitely agree with that. And Control said absolutely about LeBron finishing in Cleveland. Okay. Let's see. Anything else NBA wise? Well, I mean, look, they're the highly publicized Cooper Flag Summer League debut tonight. I love how they're advertising like Cooper Flag versus Bronny. Like, let's calm down there. Like, nobody's watching it for Bronny. They're watching for Cooper Flag to see how he looks and everything. But what are you expecting to see? Cooper Flag Summer League? You expect him to put on a show? Like, what from his like tool chest are you hoping that he puts on display?
From Cooper, it's really, to me, just adjusting to, the next level. This is kind of his first taste of, hardly NBA action, summer league action, but, just kind of how I'll see you doing against athletes at the next level, which we already kind of saw when he was kind of busting people on Team USA. So I would just love to see him stay aggressive on both ends of the floor and just kind of show everybody why you're the number one pick. Like, I don't think he really has much to prove tonight, and I think tonight he'll just look like an absolute outlier out there. Like, he's going to look terrific. And I don't even think even Bronny can slow that down.
I mean, yeah. I mean, wouldn't it be crazy? Got some, one-on-one battle, Bronny versus Cooper Flag, bucket for bucket, maybe in 2K. Yeah. Oh, look, I would be definitely interested to see Cooper Flag in his first action. See what kind of energy he brings. See the intensity, whether there is any. Because, like you said, it is just summer league. It's him just kind of working back up from the college season, get the blood flowing, and kind of look forward to next season. Cottrell, I'm old enough to remember Wemby struggling his early summer league days. I just hope we see glimpses. Don't want people to crucify him. Yeah. But we know, number one pick, if he goes out there and shoots like 2 for 12, there'll be that one person trying to be different, talking about, this could mean trouble for Cooper in the season. Like, okay, like, calm down. Well, let's be realistic. Like, Cooper Flag will be just fine.
Yeah, I think that's the other messages for out there. Like, don't overreact if he does great or terrible. Like, Sarr started out his summer league career shooting like 0-15, and he turned out to be a really fun rookie.
Let's see. Jory put, if it was up to me, LeBron would be free. Hot take artists already. Yeah. Like the hot take people have summer league to get them ready for NFL season, where they'll also let the hot takes fly as well. So, we'll be ready to read them and react. I guess another kind of minor story in the NBA, the Drew Holiday Anthony Simons trade was modified, supposedly because Portland found something on Drew Holiday's medicals. Nothing too serious to like void the deal, but took away the 2 second-round picks. Okay. Does that detail change the way you view the trade in any way, or is it just whatever?
I think it's whatever. This is the exact trade I was thinking that we were getting anyway, like just Simons for Holiday. It's still a good trade for the Celtics in which they can cut some salary, but like I think it's fine. I think it really feels like they did that because all of a sudden they're like, well, we don't want to give up those seconds, so
Yeah. I mean, that's what Control's saying, because they got fleeced, so they came up with that. I mean, they had the report that Drew Holiday was mad about going there. And look, I hope whatever the medical report brought back, like it's nothing too bad that like lingers through the season or something like that. Because obviously, I root for Drew Holiday, even though he's no longer a Celtic. I know you had fond memories of him with the Bucks as well. Like he's just a good guy, like a community guy and everything like that. And hopefully, he can bring some value to Portland. One of those young teams that I want to say on the rise, but I don't know. Like the West is tough to navigate. They still have some areas where they need to obviously improve if they're going to take the West seriously and be not even contended, but even be thought of or mentioned in terms of playoffs and anything like that. But maybe you can help turn around the culture a little bit. Let's see. I mean, is there anything I might have missed NBA wise that you can think of?
I think overall it's been a quiet day outside of all the trades are officially finalized since the start of the new league year officially started. So Kevin Durant's officially a Rocket, etc.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, the great 7-team trade that like what you see laid out, you're just like, all right, that's sure. Like Kevin Durant's obviously the biggest name, then it's a bunch of filler. So.
And that's what normally tends to happen, though, right? Like the Klay Thompson deal last year, we like a lot of people don't realize that was a 6-team trade.
Yeah, true.
Teams just tend to like glob all their trades together and make one big trade half the time. So
exactly, yeah. Well, I guess one last thing: the Normal Powell move to the Heat. Does that do anything for you in terms of Heat outlook for next season? How much?
No.
How much of a difference maker is Norman Powell?
Like they went from getting knocked out in the first game of the play-in to like the second game of the play-in. Like it gives them a scoring punch, which they desperately needed. But like I'm not going to all of a sudden like run and change my playoff predictions all because like, oh, he got Norman Powell, pencil him in for the finals or even the second round. Like he's a nice piece, but for that team, like he fills a need, but that team's still just nowhere near ready to compete for much of anything outside of maybe a first round exit.
Yeah, I mean, look, I definitely agree with that because I keep seeing people like doing these rankings of the East next season, obviously knocking the Pacers and the Celtics down, and I've yet to really seen one. Now I've seen like one or two where like one person put the Heat as like a 4 or 5 seed, and I was like you got to be a Heat fan if you think that. But most people still have them kind of behind those two teams anyway. Because I do think the Heat, it's like, a couple of years ago, it was all about Heat culture, Heat culture, Heat culture, and it's like, okay, you're Bam Adebayo, Tyler Hero, and what? I guess Norman Powell now, but not really a big three that strikes a lot of fear into you.
No.
But all right, so let's go NFL and the story that I was talking about in the opening. Kirk Cousins comes out and is talking about he was misled by the Atlanta Falcons because obviously we know what went on there. Falcons gave him the deal, literally turned around in the draft, drafted Penix really high, 8th overall. Then ultimately they turned their team over to Penix, and now Cousins is in limbo in Atlanta. So I guess when you hear that he was misled by the Falcons, how much of this mess that the Falcons potentially are in do you blame on the organization? How much do you blame on Kirk Cousins? Because obviously Kirk Cousins had a hand in this, that he didn't play well. He got hurt. Penix went in there, was, I guess, effective enough for the Falcons to kind of move off of Cousins. So where do you put the blame pie in all of this?
I feel like the answer is just kind of Atlanta. It's weird it's weird. Like, obviously they give Kirk that big contract, and then all of a sudden they pick up Penix. Then obviously Kirk gets hurt, so it makes it look like it's some genius maneuver. But we all know they didn't plan for that. Mm-hmm. They wanted Kirk to start for at least probably 2-3 years before Penix took over, and then Penix would have been like, what, 20? I think he's an older prospect, right? Mm-hmm. I don't remember his age off the top of my head, but this is one of those moves that drafting Penix, the Falcons look like a genius, when in all reality it was the biggest accident, as to what happened. So I think the Falcons somewhat had a plan that just got expedited, but if they, kind of promised Kirk that security, that's just kind of on them.
Penix is 25.
Yeah, so yeah. I'm guessing if it was up to them, he wouldn't have been starting until he was like 27 or 28. But yeah, no. At the end of the day, I blame the Falcons. They're the ones who gave the big contract and assured him he'd be the starter for a while, and then turned around and drafted Penix.
Right. And I completely agree. I know on sideline to sideline, I know we talked about it, and even draft night, we did the draft watch along, completely thrown off by the pick. And yeah, Atlanta, like the way they sold it to the fans was like, oh, we're just drafting for a future. And it's like, yeah, but you just gave a guy $100 million over 4 years. So why are you automatically looking for your future quarterback with your first pick when you had so many other needs? But that's kind of been Atlanta's way of drafting. They draft luxury picks and then go into the season, no pass rush, nothing like that, and then wonder what went wrong. I don't know. Take the draft more seriously and actually take guys you need. Atlanta sports teams in the front offices, that is a thing. What's going on, Anthony? Random debate I was having with a friend, football related. Oh, we got a one has to go from the chat. So one has to go Any Given Sunday, Friday Night Lights, Remember the Titans, Gridiron Gang. I'm not kicking out Any Given Sunday. Love that movie. What's going on, John? I guess I'll put this up. You can't read it. There we go. Remember the Titans isn't going. That's probably my favorite sports movie of all time.
I think I'm going with Gridiron Gang.
That's where I'm leaning to, Jory. Because out of the four of them, to be honest with you, the Gridiron Gang is like the one I probably remember the least about. So that's probably where I would go as well. I mean, Anthony, since you're having that debate with a friend, I guess what was your answer and what was your friend's answer? Because I would love to know that. John said Kirk Cousins misled, said he would have resigned with the Vikings if he had known Atlanta was going to draft a quarterback. John calls BS. What his excuse on all these other teams is called chasing that money. I mean, there's one thing you'll say about Kirk Cousins' career. He got paid everywhere he went. I mean, maybe he would have stayed in Minnesota because he obviously left Minnesota because I think the writing was kind of on the wall that Minnesota was probably going to go away from him. He looked at Atlanta. Remember, Atlanta's coming off of Desmond Ridder. Like, Kirk Cousins is a vast upgrade over him. So he saw it as an opportunity with a team that, had been building up their defense for a couple of years, have offensive pieces. Like, you have Bijan Robinson. Whatever you think about Drake London, whatever you think about the myth Kyle Pitts, like they have guys on that side of the ball that can play. So he probably looked at that as an opportunity in a weaker division. Like, why not? So I wouldn't doubt that he wasn't misled, because as Jory put, Atlanta in their front offices, you just never know. Can we see Kirk keep playing because he's not that old to retire? Well, the only problem with that is he's got to work his way out of Atlanta to a situation that would benefit him. If you're looking around at teams that need quarterbacks, well, I think the rumor was like, wasn't Cleveland supposedly involved or something like that? But we all seen Cleveland's quarterback room. We'll say that that's off the table now. Maybe Tua goes down. Could he be an option there? Maybe. I don't know. John says Kirk is 36. He might have another year or two left in that body. You better have a really good offensive line, though. That's for sure. But
year or two is like generous. I think he's just cooked, but I just think he's done. I don't think that'll stop him from playing another couple of years, but I do think he's just cooked. He looked absolutely cooked in Atlanta. There's just, he can't really move. Like, he can't escape pressure. Like, you would need like the 90s Cowboys O-line to keep that man upright at this point.
Yeah, it's sad but true. Yeah. Those of you who are now coming in, as I said early on, we are going to do all 32 quarterback rankings here coming up. So make sure you stick around, because we will use your input to form our list as well. Can you fit on the cards if Murray went down? I don't. Who's Murray's backup right now?
That's the funniest idea, creating like an offense built around the improvisation of Kyler Murray, and then having to watch Kirk Cousins run that same offense. Kirk Cousins improv plays in 2026. Let's get it.
Just thinking about that, I could see a hip pop or something. He's not. That would be a crazy change-up for a defense. If you play like the first half going against Kyler Murray, he goes down. Second half, Kirk Cousins, like completely different defensive scheme and everything. But I don't know. JJ comes down, Kirk back to the Vikings. Once again, I don't even know who JJ's backup is. But I'm going to assume Kirk, Minnesota, those days are done. Oh, what's going on, Damien? Friday Night Lights can go. It feels more like a chick flick more than a sports movie. Okay. All right, so Damien's got Friday Night Lights going. Jory, Brett, and I have Gridiron Gang going. Okay. Yeah, Anthony, I want to know what your answer was and what was your friend's answer. Since y'all had the debate, I got to know what the two sides were. I think that was it. I had NFL wise. Oh, okay, Sam Howell is JJ's backup. Yeah, Sam Howell seems like he's like this era's Ryan Fitzpatrick. He'll give you a game or two. Past that, you'll be like, that's why you're a backup. It's not a terrible backup, but okay. So they said they were all on Gridiron Gang. Okay, yeah, there we go. Only Damien had to put our Friday Night Lights. All right. I feel like we should get into these quarterback rankings because I feel like that's going to take a good portion of the show. Like I said, if you're just wandering in, want to hear from you as well as we're going through this because we're going to do all 32 teams. I have a little notes thing up on here. I will keep track, and then when we're done, I will read through our list. So everybody's doing quarterback rankings list. This is the one you need that we're about to do.
And I did mine based on how I think they're going to do next year. So
okay.
So you know what? If you're going to, for example, there are going to be some names you're like, what? He's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, and that might be correct. But that is not how I think they're going to do next year. So there might be some names higher or lower. So I just wanted to give you this heads up. I love doing them like little predictive lists for the following year. So that's the way I approach these things.
All right. Yeah. We'll do it like that. Anthony says waiting for 32. So I think we will actually start at the bottom and work our way up. I mean, is that good with you, or you want to do top to the bottom?
No, let's start at the bottom.
Okay. So start at 32. I'm gonna throw out Tyler Shuck here, only because he's an unknown. Out of the rookies, he's probably the least talented. I don't know. He's like 35 years old, so like we don't know. So, is that who you had at 32, or did you have somebody else?
No, okay. I had Tyler Shuck as well. It's funny. Tyler Shuck might be good, but the problem is like when you're taking into consideration quarterback rankings, you also have to think of the weapons that they're working with. So, like, is whatever's left of Alvin Kamara enough to make Shuck look great? I don't think so. So, I think the Saints are just overall a terrible situation. So, I have Shuck at 32.
Okay. Sorry, Will. I know it's your team. Although Will would probably put him at 35. So, all right. So, we got Shuck at 32. 31. I was trying to think of, who would be that guy right above Shuck. Who would you put at 31? Because I have like a group of guys. I want to see if one of them falls in your group as well.
I have whoever the starting quarterback of the Indianapolis Colts is.
Okay.
Danny Dimes, Anthony Richardson, doesn't matter. Archie Manning in 17. Like, it doesn't like matter. Like, that room is so bad. And they have like one weapon, and it's Michael Pittman. So I am not a fan of what the Colts are doing. I don't think they have enough weapons to, give either of these guys a great chance. Like, their whole offense is just predicated on, is Jonathan Taylor going to be healthy this year? And that doesn't feel like a great bet to take for me right now when it comes to these guys. So I literally just have them both. I'm sure it's going to be Daniel Jones, but I have Anthony Richardson / Daniel Jones.
Okay. I actually had Jones as well. I'm assuming Jones is going to start. Richardson's got the injury. They brought in Daniel Jones for a reason. They want whatever upgrade he brings in the passing game. That's clearly what they're going for. So I agree. I got Jones at 31. Damon said, I'm shocked Sanders isn't 32. I'm taking the approach that Sanders is not starting week 1 for Cleveland. Let's see. Damon put if Jordan Love is in the top 10, I'm leaving. LOL. John Lamar, Allen, Baker, Mahomes, Burrow, Hurts, Dak, your top 7. Well, I guess you have to see if that's our top 7. Jory put Lamar at 32. She was trolling. I was tempted to go there. I see. If Anthony starts number 31, if it's Daniel Jones, he's not 31. Okay. So where would you put Daniel Jones, Anthony? All right, so now we're up to number 30.
Like what did that move the Colts to? From the 31st best quarterback to the 30th?
Yeah, maybe.
Like,
Hey, it's still an upgrade. A
you're not
minor
wrong.
upgrade, but it's an upgrade. 30, I put McCarthy only because he's the unknown. We don't know what he is.
I'm going with whatever's going on in Cleveland.
Okay.
I just put Joe Flacco. Obviously, still could be Sanders, Gabriel, whoever. Once again, that's just an absolute disaster waiting to happen. I don't really think they have enough, weapons to, surround any of these quarterbacks to really make it work. I think that Stefanski's a great coach, and he might find a way to get a passable offense. But if your best quarterback is, 58-year-old Joe Flacco, like, I'm not very confident in it. Like, he's going to give you some big games, but he's going to be wildly inconsistent. And your backup is Kenny Pickett, and then followed up by 2 rookies. Like, I literally thought about this for, like, this is the best I could do for this squad. I almost thought about putting him at 32. But I stuck with 30 on whatever is happening in Cleveland.
Carr has to be near. Well, Carr retired. So, yeah. All right, so you have Flacco. I have McCarthy. So I guess chat, unless you guys have somebody else, the first one to go, Flacco or McCarthy, will be number 30. Because I do think, as Jory put, it's bad when you say whatever's going on in Cleveland. Yeah. I assume Flacco gets it because even if Sanders is the backup, they're not going to want to start Sanders week 1. Okay, Jory throws Lawrence into the mix. Okay. I mean, yeah. But we'll say between Flacco and McCarthy, who would you put here?
It's just these bottom 3 situations I think are just locks because they're just so disastrous at this point. You're just kind of like,
Right, exactly. Okay, Jory is McCarthy. Was McCarthy your next one?
Actually, no, I'm slightly higher on McCarthy than quite a few names.
Okay. I had Flacco and McCarthy as the next 2, but if I have no Chihuahua here.
Listen, I believe if you're making a prediction list for next year, you should go bold. So I did a little bit with Mike McCarthy or JJ McCarthy. I hope Mike McCarthy's not suiting up at quarterback. So
okay, I'm kind of interested to see where you have McCarthy then. Well, Jory did put McCarthy, so we'll put McCarthy here for intensive purposes. Okay, so Anthony's moved on to 29. Say Anthony has 29 is a toss-up. Justin Fields maybe, but Russell Wilson is 29. Don't know if he'll start the whole season when the Giants drafted a quarterback. And they also have Reverend Jameis too.
Yeah, 29. You actually kind of nailed it. I have Justin Fields.
Okay.
I don't think that Justin Fields is going to have a big breakout like everybody's expecting. Even when he got put into that situation with Pittsburgh, we can go the route of he had a winning record, but he just looks so like unspectacular. Like he just looked like the epitome of a game manager. I think that he can stay in this league for a long time as a really good backup. But I think last year, I think it just kind of showed its flaws, and I think that's okay. But I don't think he's a high-quality starting quarterback in this league.
Okay. I'm at Fields kind of around this area because I was trying to think about how I view Fields, new situation with New York. That probably knocks him down a little bit, but I think Fields could be a little better than 29, but you have him there. Anthony has him there. So we'll go with Fields.
My high range for Fields is like 26. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah. I'm not hating Damian. It's just what I've seen from Justin Fields for like 5 years now. It's just who he is. He's a high end backup, a low end starter.
I mean, look, he had the opportunity in Pittsburgh, and he did so well that as soon as Russ was ready to go, they turned it over to Russ. Now, I do think he probably should have gotten more of a chance in Pittsburgh, but I mean, I'm not mad at that. I mean, I think he's a guy that who could move up a bit next season, depending on how he looks in the Jets offense. Garrett Wilson, Brees Hall running the ball behind him. The opportunity's there, but yeah, I'm not going to fight it too much. So John throws out Darnold at 28. I mean, I have Darnold a little higher than that, but who do you have at 28?
It's funny because Anthony and I just might be on the same wavelength because I have Russell Wilson at 28.
I did as well. Yeah.
This is like almost like the same situations as Fields, where I think at this point in his career, I don't know if they think Russ is really a starting quality quarterback anymore. The difference for me is at least I know Russ can win you some games, willing to take chances down the field, where Justin Fields is more, he's going to really sit on it and try to protect the football, which is fine. But I'm going to give it to Russ because he's at least willing at times to let it fly and try to win you some games rather than Fields just kind of playing it safer.
So Damon says Trevor Lawrence should be 29. Well, unfortunately not. I Wilson 28 as well for all the reasons you said. I just don't know what to make of the whole Giants situation in general. Like, they have Dayball, except for it seems like he's a lame duck coach, especially when you're hearing reports like playoffs or bust. I feel like there's probably a 0.1% chance the Giants make a playoff run. So, like, how motivated is Dayball to save his job where it seems like it's conclusion that he's going to be gone after the season, if not mid-season? You still look at that Giants offense. You have Malik Neighbors, I guess, was it Tyrone Tracy at running back? Outside of that, like, how excited are you for this Giants offense? So, yeah, I have no quarrel about that. What has Russ done since the Legion of Boom?
Nothing. That's
why
he's 28.
He had a couple of good weeks in Pittsburgh.
He hasn't really done anything. That's why he's the 28th best quarterback in the league. Like,
yeah,
that's why we're talking about him down here rather than like top, 10 quarterback Russ. Like, we know he's not that.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the diminished version of Russ, and right now the best version we've seen of Justin Fields are about the same thing.
Yeah. I mean, I would feel highly, well, I guess if he feel higher about like Fields playing his way a little higher than Russ. I think Russ will just kind of be that the whole season. All right, so we're up to 27. Who do you have at 27?
I got Sam Darnold.
Oh.
Not very high on Sam Darnold. They traded away his weapons.
Mm-hmm.
And Sam Darnold's a guy that when he got under pressure, he folded with a lot better weapons. So I see him regressing really hard this year, and I'm not liking that. I'm not liking the situation that Sam Darnold's in. He's in a world of trouble, I think, this year.
Okay. I actually put Lawrence here. I feel like since Lawrence's rookie season, it has been downhill, and it seems like the turnovers have become more of an issue. Some of that, I guess, you could put on coaching a little bit. I know a lot of people blame the weapons, but it seemed like when Lawrence was playing better, those same weapons looked pretty good, and then Lawrence's play dropped off. So obviously the weapons dropped off. But and I don't know how optimistic I'm gonna feel about Lawrence next season. Another coach now, first time head coach. We don't know if that's gonna work out necessarily. I think they're in like the division isn't the strongest, but I feel like they're losing ground each year with him.
Oh, fair enough. I just think that there's like a lot of like slop in the back of the division, whether it's like bad situations or like super young quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what saves guys like Lawrence and Rodgers and Tua from being like deadly low to me. So like I got like
Mm-hmm.
Lawrence coming up, but he's
All right,
coming
so
up soon.
yeah, you have him at least in this area.
So
Trevor
yeah,
had
he's
weapons. It's just him. That's kind of the way I'm leaning Anthony. Because remember, he's playing well. Christian Kirk was playing really well, and everybody's like, "Oh man, maybe the Cardinals missed out on Christian Kirk." And then Lawrence's play slips. It's like, "Oh, Christian Kirk can't be your number one." I mean, you can't have it both ways with him.
say Trevor was your 26?
27.
27. Okay, I had Sam Darnold.
I
For
mean,
me,
looks like Lawrence is winning amongst the chat.
hey, fair enough. Say
So,
that's fair enough. And like I said, we weren't that far off with Lawrence. I had him at 26.
Okay.
So I think he's going to be better than Sam Darnold. I think you can convince me that he's going to be better than Michael Penix, which I just accidentally spoiled 25 for myself, I guess. But
Okay.
I'm just not. You know what? I'll give him that. I'm going to make a slight amendment. I'm going to put Michael Penix at 26, Trevor Lawrence at 25.
Okay, so 26, you got Penix. What did I have? 26. Yeah, I was like caught between Darnold and Rodgers here. Because I know you might be a little higher on Rodgers. I just, 40 plus state of the Steelers. I don't know if that's going to work well next season. So it looks like the names we have out there as options: Darnold, Rodgers for 26. Oh, Penix. You threw in Penix as well.
Yeah, I got Penix at 26.
Okay, so
I'm
we'll
just
do
not.
between Penix and Rodgers for 26.
I think he has weapons. I think he has potential, but I'm not very confident in Michael Penix. I don't see it. I don't think he's going to take a massive step. I know some people are high on him because he was picked on 8, but I just don't see it. I hope I'm wrong, and I hope he takes a massive leap, and he's as good as people think he is. But I think he's going to show this year why people thought he was such a reach.
I mean, I don't have Penix like much higher than here, but I think with Penix, it's the last image we had of him obviously in college was that high powered Washington offense where he seemed like he was putting the ball in the best place and everything like that, and those guys made a lot of plays for him. But he doesn't have that in Atlanta. So now it's how well is he going to play where you can't just put it over the top to a poke or a Dunze running wild over the middle and stuff like that. So, I mean, I agree. I think some of the excitement, because I feel like some Atlanta fans are going crazy about, what Penix could be this year. Like, I think he could be good, but how good, I don't know. I think that's debatable. So Anthony put 26 JJ. Well, we already used JJ already.
Say, I got JJ coming up. Don't you worry.
Yeah. So we are between Penix and Darnold right now.
Say, so I kind of spoiled my 25. Who did you have at 25?
25 was Rodgers.
Okay. Rodgers is just so tough, right? Because his down year on the So his down year on the Jets was still like a very good. It's still like a very good year for like a lot of quarterbacks, and he he's just so tough to grade because his down year was still better than a lot of quarterbacks' best years.
Mm-hmm.
Like they were pretty much. It felt like they were pretty much a couple of solid special teams away half the time because they lost 3 games just by special teams. Those 3 games, puts them in a playoff hunt. So I don't know. He's like so hard at times because his like down year was still better than everybody else's, but obviously at the same time, the results do matter. So
Right. Let's see. So Lawrence was 27. So 26 we were between Darnold and Penix. And then, so who was your 25 then?
my 25 was T-Law.
Okay.
I have slightly higher than you.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so same area there. So I guess 26 and 25, should we just use Darnold and Penix for those two?
That's fine. That works for me.
Yeah. Darnold, Penix. All right. All right, so who do you have at 24?
24? I'm going to have to go with Cam Ward. I think Cam Ward has all the potential in the world. I think that Cam Ward is also a very young, inexperienced quarterback that also doesn't have a lot of weapons. Like, we talk about Rodgers only having one weapon. Who's the weapon for Cam Ward in Tennessee?
Ridley.
And that's like,
whoa.
Okay.
Cam Ward told you Treylon Burks is one of his favorites.
Right.
And I still can't get over that Fortnite stream. That was too.
That was hilarious. But like, your only weapon is Calvin Ridley, and I guess if he's that high on Treylon Burks for a young like quarterback going into his rookie year, I think Cam Ward's going to be terrific. But I really don't see a path for him to like jump into the top 20 this year. So he doesn't have that body of work like a Rodgers has that I can go, I can see it. I've seen him do it before with limited weapons. So I'm going to put Cam Ward here. I still think he has the ceiling to be one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL at some point, but some point is not this year.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's always tough projecting rookie quarterbacks in the NFL. So I get where you're coming from. Like, I had Ward at 23 because I think in terms of rookie quarterback, I think he'll have a good season. But it'd be hard for me to just take a rookie and put him over, some guys I have higher than him. So I think this is a good area to put him. And the fact that we put Shuck at 32, who was also a rookie. And the fact that we put Cam at 24, 23 area kind of speaks to how good we feel he could be in this league. Let's see. So Rodgers not in the top 10. No, Davian. John, ones I could have swapped would be Geno and Bryce Young. Those names will be coming up here soon. Damien, don't worry. Caleb's not top 15. Your quarterback's coming. Okay, there we go. All right, so you have Ward here. I would have Rodgers here, and then Ward be the next one. So who's your next quarterback?
Mine. Give me Bryce Young. Okay. I think Bryce Young showed, flashes, but even that came after a benching where he wasn't great the first half of the year, but he was fine the second half of the year. I don't know what I'm getting out of Bryce Young this year. I think that they did well to try to put more weapons around him. Mm-hmm. But that, to me, that doesn't mean that he's automatically going to be a top 20 quarterback. I'm not 100% confident and sold that jump is coming this year. And at that point, if it's not coming this year, like his ceiling just might be like 15th best quarterback in the league in a couple of years, which is fine. Just not what you expected out of a number 1 pick. At the end of the day, I think he's got talent.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if I can put him any higher than this because of what we did see in that first half of the year. I'm not going to sell myself on like what was it, a 4 or 5 game sample size after the benching.
Mm-hmm. No, I kind of had Young somewhere in this area as well, a little higher than 23, but yeah, it's just gonna be like if Young looks like second half Bryce Young, then he would be a little higher. If he looks like the first half Bryce Young, then yeah, this is probably the right spot to put him. See,
Right.
Jory put, I agree to an extent. The receivers, they're sneaky. They just need to develop. And yeah, like I said, Brett and I don't think Ward's going to be a bad quarterback. But that's the stuff those are the growing pains early in the season. Him getting the
Yeah,
timing down with the wide receivers, him building the, I guess, partnership with the offensive line and everything like that. So, yeah, that's all those are all the rookie hurdles that you have to go through.
yeah, it's
After that,
really.
coming up in the next 5. Okay, John.
Oh, I'm going to disappoint you. I do not have Stafford coming up in the next 5.
Okay, so we're gonna go Ward 24, Young 23. Who do you have 22?
Give me your guy, Drake May.
Okay.
I think that give me Vrabel, give him a year to develop chemistry there. I think they're going to be a more ground and pound team, which is kind of what holds him back a little bit. I think he has all the talent in the world. I think his completion percentage is going to go up. I think this team will be a kind of fine team to watch. I just think what he's missing are more weapons on the outside to actually throw to. Outside of, obviously they got Diggs, but I don't know how he's going to look coming off of an ACL tear. So this one, I think May could easily be a top 15 quarterback this year. But with the way that Vrabel likes to ground and pound, I think that does hold him back a little bit. And there's a lot of talent in the QB area this year, so I'll put May right here.
Yeah, I'd May like 20th, so 22nd. I could definitely hear the argument. I do think we will probably see some more RPO out of him. But yeah, Vrabel's going to want to establish the line of scrimmage, establish the running game, clock control, all that with the defense that he obviously built up. So yeah, I could definitely see what you're saying. I mean, his over under I think is like, I looked it up today, like 3,200 yards, which I guess depending on how the season plays out, yeah.
He has the talent of a 4,000-yard quarterback, but he's in the system of like a 3,000-yard quarterback. So love to see where the middle ground is there.
Right. Exactly. Okay. So now we're up to 21.
And here's where I got my guy, Aaron Rodgers.
Okay.
I tried to focus. I'm trying to find every excuse I could to put him higher. I love Aaron, but I just can't. I think he's got, obviously they got DK over there now. He's got some weapons, but I'm still not 100% sold on. They had a really rough going at times with that line last year. Off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you who their running back is, but I'm not 100% sold on just the Pittsburgh Steelers in general. And I think, Rodgers Jalen Warren, that was it. Yeah, no, I'm not sold on their run game 100%, and I think Rodgers will struggle a little bit because of that, but I'm going to stick Rodgers right here.
Okay. Yeah, I had Rodgers a little low, but since we moved some other names, Rodgers is my lowest name left. So yeah, he works here for me as well. All right, so now we've made it to the top 20. Who's number 20?
Give me Bo Nix.
Okay. I had Knicks a little higher. Well, okay.
You know what? I misread my sheet. Actually, my bad. I overlooked Tua.
Okay. Tua is exactly who I had here as well. And Anthony has Tua at 20 also.
My bad. I got my little list in front of me. It's on a little sheet of paper, and I just mixed up the names. That is my bad.
No,
20.
good.
I got Tua. Hey, Anthony, I corrected myself. I misread my own list. I'm old. I'm turning 30 this year. I'm over the hill.
I agree with you. Tua at 20. Like, they came into the offseason needing offensive line help. They made minor, I guess, improvements to that. The offense seems like it's breaking down the pieces around them. Mostert's gone. So I guess A-Chain's got to be the lead guy. There's the rumblings about Tyreek Hill not being there. Mike McDaniel, I feel like the shine has definitely come off of him. So yeah, I have no reason to think Tua is going to be higher than 20. They even put Purdy at 20.
So I think they'll regret, but that's a little too low for me.
Yeah. All right. 19.
19, give me, and this might be a bold one to you guys, and I'm ready for it. Give me J.J. McCarthy.
Okay.
Obviously, it's his first year, but we're talking about a first-year quarterback with a quarterback gurus over in Minnesota who made everybody look good. And he's got weapons like Addison, Jefferson, Hawk, Aaron Jones. I almost thought about putting him even a spot higher, but I'm comfortable with J.J. McCarthy here. I think that he's going to have a great rookie year. And I think he'll be a top 20 quarterback right off the bat.
Okay. Well, I know we used McCarthy at 30 because the chat broke the tie for us. So 19, I actually had John kind of stole it. I had Geno Smith at 19. Only because I like Geno, like you'll get good Geno, you'll get bad Geno. I just worry that you'll probably get more bad Geno than good these days. Like I still think he's like a middle of the road quarterback, 19 area. Dang, you put 19 Lamar Jackson.
Geno's coming up for me, but there's a couple more that I think he's slightly better than. Granted, I almost thought about switching him and McCarthy, but
All right, so I guess, like I said, since we used McCarthy already, who's your 18 then?
My 18?
Yeah.
That would be Geno Smith.
Okay, so
like I said, I had him slightly higher.
Yeah.
I thought about switching him and McCarthy around, but Geno Smith is a guy who's going to take care of the football, and he does have some weapons in Mayer and Bowers who can also, go out wide for him.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the run game doesn't do him any favors, and that's kind of why I can't put him any higher. But I do think that he's going to be a top 20 quarterback, but I just cannot put him any higher than this. So I got Geno Smith going here.
Okay. So you had Geno 18. I guess for our list, Geno will be 19. Only because, like I said, McCarthy was already used. So then who's your 17?
Give me Kyler Murray.
Okay. Murray was my next guy too.
I say I got him just one spot over, mainly due to the fact that I like Kyler's improv work over Geno. I think Geno takes care of the ball better, but I think, at the end of the day with Kyler, he gives you a little bit better improv work. And I think both don't have I think in a situation where overall, the Raiders don't have weapons. Overall, the Cardinals have Marvin Harrison. They both kind of only have one main weapon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that improv is going to be absolutely important for both of those guys. And to me, it was like the tiebreaker between two quarterbacks. So I think Kyler Murray, I got going right here.
All right. Yeah. That works for me. Murray's in that. I also love how they, when they were showcasing the new Madden game, they show that they put in like Kyler Murray's scramble style because he runs like really choppy steps with his arm. Yeah. So I think it's a big year for Murray. I feel like we've been saying that for like the last 3 years, but he's a guy who, like, this is the season he has to be a consistent quarterback. Because last year, remember early in the season, they had that early win against Buffalo. And, everybody was starting to think like maybe they turned the corner. Maybe Kyler Murray's finally found something. And then you look at the end of the season, they weren't a good team. So, yeah, I think this is fitting for Kyler Murray. So who is up next for you?
Say up next for me at what does this be 16?
I think it's your 16, but it's our 17.
My 16. This is where I have Bo Nix. I think he's right on the breakthrough of being a top 15 quarterback. I think he's right in that conversation. And I think this could be the year he breaks through. I think he'll be right there, though. I think he'll be almost the median. I think he'll be right behind that top 15. I think he had a great last year. The problem is what happens after a great first year? You have a bit of a sophomore slump. I think last year he was a top 15 quarterback. Not quite in the top 10, but I'd put him in that 11 to 15 section. I think this year they're going to get some film on him, and I think he's going to slightly regress to being just outside of the top 15 in quarterbacks. But I think for Nix, that is absolutely okay. And I could see him having a bounce back in year 3. But I think we're going to see Nix slightly regress here.
Nix was the next name up on my list as well. So same reasons you have. And I mean, look, I think the Broncos are going to be a good team this year. Probably mainly the defense, but Bo Nix surprised me last year, so I would not be shocked if he, outperforms 17 again this year.
Yeah.
Jory put Lamar. Damian put Dak. Okay. Anthony put 16. Sorry, Justin Herbert, dude's overrated.
The beautiful thing with Nix is this is my low end estimate of him. Like, I think he could be a top 10 quarterback this year. But to me, this is my low end estimate, and I think if he's if he's even an average quarterback this year in year 2, like the 15th best quarterback in the league, I think that'd be great for Denver. And then we can make adjustments year 3.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So next up is 16 on our list, but I think it's your 15.
Give me another guy who I think this guy I think is going to regress. I think Brock Purdy's going to have some regression this year. Loss of a lot of weapons. His best weapon at this point just might be Christian McCaffrey on no ankles. Like, I'm not sold on Brock Purdy being a top 10 quarterback this year. I think it might take a year to retool and kind of rebuild those weapons around him, but he did get that big contract extension, so that might be difficult. So I think Brock Purdy will be the measuring stick. I think he'll be the 15th best quarterback, or say right there in the middle, 15th best quarterback in the league.
Okay. Yeah, my next two guys were actually had Williams here, then Purdy was my next one. Did you do the opposite, like Purdy then Williams? Is Williams your next one or no?
See, that's boring to me. No, I'm actually very high. Damian, and even though I'm a Packer fan, I'm very high on Caleb Williams. Don't worry, I got you.
Okay.
But no, Next, actually, this might shock some people, and this might be more to the situation around him. Give me CJ Stroud.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I had Stroud. So I had like Williams. I had Williams, Purdy, Stroud. So Stroud was kind of in this area too. Okay.
It's not really. We're talking about a team who just let Stroud get killed back there. His best line, his best offensive weapon is still hurt. I don't think that CJ Stroud has as great as a year as people think he will. I think it's going to be another year where he's constantly under pressure. He's constantly under fire. I think he's an absolutely great talent, but I think it's kind of a terrible situation around Stroud that's going to hold him back.
No, I agree. I mean, look, I was very high on Stroud rookie season. Last season definitely took a step back, although he played his best football like the very end of the regular season and the 2 playoff games that they had. He actually played well. So that gives you a reason to think he could, maybe start off the season better. But I agree with you. It's like the team around him changed so much. And even last season, like you said, he had to improvise a lot. And Collins is down. I mean, Tank Dell is down, who's obviously his number 1 receiver. Yeah, so I kind of expect him to take a bit of a step back as well. I think this is a good area for him. All right, we are on 14 now, which I guess once again is your 13.
You know what? Yeah, and this is kind of where it gets, real tough, right? Like once we start getting into like the top 15, it's rough. But might have to go with as much as I hate to say it, give me Justin Herbert.
Like I would have Caleb Williams here, but I know you already said you're higher on him than I am, so you're Herbert here.
Yeah, no, I think Herbert.
So I'm not that far off either.
I think Herbert's got all the talent in the world, and he'll show it at times. He'll throw for a lot of yards. Just don't ask him to show up in the big moments. That's kind of what holds him back. I've watched guys like Jordan Love show up in more big moments in 2 years than I think I've seen Justin Herbert. Like, I think I've seen Caleb Williams make more big-time throws last year than Justin Herbert, and the Bears are awful. Like, and that's kind of my problem with Herbert. I'm frustrated with Herbert. I want to rank Herbert higher, but I can't. Because he makes it impossible for me to rank him any higher.
Yeah. No, I think that's fair. Like I said, because I think I was telling you before, like I kind of did mines in like groups of guys, so I thought we're kind of similar, and then tried to do it that way. And Herbert was kind of in the group at this point, so Herbert at 14, I have no strong arguments against. If I'll just say that. Okay, who's next?
To me, this is kind of where the fun starts. Give me someone who's going to put up a ton of yardage, but is a little streaky, in Baker Mayfield. I think Baker's a terrific quarterback. He's just very inconsistent, very streaky, runs really hot and cold. And I'll give you a hint. Actually, can I switch?
Yeah.
I'm going to switch this real quick. I will put Jared Goff here and then Baker Mayfield.
Okay. Yeah, I think Goff was the interesting one to place as well. Baker I had a little higher, but not too much higher. So,
Sometimes I convince myself on the spot, like why player A should be higher than player B, and I kind of did that. Well, I
Mhm.
think Jared Goff provides a safer, floor than Baker. I think Baker provides you with a much higher ceiling.
Yeah.
So, you know what? I'm going to switch it on the spot. Give me Jared Goff here, and then spoiler, next pick will be Baker.
Okay. All right. Like I said, I had Baker, I think one spot higher. So, and look, John put, wow, Baker will finish top 5. I think the potential, well, depending on which stat you're looking at, like Baker yards wise will probably put up really good numbers. I fully expect Baker to probably lead the Bucks to another division title.
Oh, I
But you do
absolutely
worry sometimes, or he can get a little careless.
say I do have Stafford over
Oh,
Goff.
Stafford over Goff, yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. I do as well.
I hope you guys are
Okay,
enjoying my
who's
list. I have a
next?
lot of fun doing these. Say, would this be number 10?
I have it as 11. I'm starting to think if I missed somebody.
No, you're good. You're good. That is A-okay. I got you. And number 11,
Mm-hmm.
that's where you can give me Caleb Williams.
Okay.
That is probably, that might be the catch everybody off guard, or a lot of people except Damien. I think Caleb's about to have a big
Right.
jump. We've upgraded the coaching staff, who actually will play players to their strengths. I thought about putting him in the top 10. But I'm going to put him right here at 11, but I think he easily has top 10 potential. I think the coaching staff will help. They've clearly went out and upgraded that offensive line. They have a ton of weapons. I don't see a reason why this can't be the Caleb Williams breakout year, where we argue if he's a top 10 quarterback or not.
I think if Baker didn't have Mike Evans, he would be this good. In my opinion, he would still be the same Baker he was in Cleveland. I mean, the Baker that was in Cleveland wasn't terrible. Trust me. You'd rather have Baker stint in Cleveland than Deshaun Watson's stint in Cleveland. So, um, yeah, I mean, that's also hard to say if you take Mike Evans away. That'd be like, okay, so if Dak didn't have CeeDee Lamb, like you take away any quarterback's number one option, yeah, they're going to be a little worse. But okay, we've approached and we've made it to the top 10. So I guess this is where Dave, you sound like a hater. Well, yeah. So who's 10?
Oh, here we go. Here's some fun. It's so funny. I cannot wait because I'm going to probably sound like the biggest. Listen, I'm going to already sound like a homer with my Jordan Love prediction, and that's okay. But he's not top 3. I promise you. He's not top 5. I promise you that.
Okay.
But I do think that he will finish and have a better year than Dak Prescott, who I have next.
So you have Dak at 10. Okay.
Dak at 10.
Okay. That's about where I had him as well. Look, the wins, I don't know what the win total will be. He'll put up decent stats, I feel like, but yeah, I think it's hard to keep him out of the top 10, but I also find it hard to put him anywhere higher than 10. So I think, yeah, it makes a lot of sense to put him here.
Say.
So 9.
Number 9. And I feel like this is the highest praise I can do for a second-year quarterback. Give me Jaden Daniels. I think second-year quarterbacks are so tough because we're talking about sophomore slumps and just having more film on said player. So I think Jaden Daniels, I think they'll have the film on him, and he'll still be a top 10 quarterback. I think that highly of him. We saw what happened in the second year to C.J. Stroud. I think the Commanders have clearly made it a mission to, continue to get weapons around him. And I think that he'll still have a phenomenal year and be a top 10 quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, I had Daniels coming in right at the deck as well. And when you look at Jaden Daniels, he had a great this year. The tape is out there on him. How good will he be this year? Plus, I kind of made this joke, I think, on the morning show. It's like, is D still going to be looking like a tight end, or is he going to actually look like a wide receiver by the time opening week of the season? Yeah. Hard to think Daniels isn't a top quarterback again this year. Who's 8?
Oh, and honestly,
you're getting Commanders fan hate. How do you have Jordan Love over Jaden Daniels? Well,
I mean, my guy with a groin injury still led a top 5 offense. Like, Jordan Love's down year was still a really, really good year. And I have those two right in the same area because I have Jordan Love right ahead of Jaden Daniels. I think that Jordan Love had another fun year last year. It was kind of inconsistent, but I think the big key was he kind of started to put it together after he had that groin injury. He left, and then he was a little rough for a couple weeks. But then he put it together. This is a guy that, at the end, still led his team to a top 5 offense. He was a really, really good quarterback still last year. After showing that he could be elite down the stretch, he was elite down the stretch last year. Love had weapons. Jaden did it with one weapon. I mean, that's great. I love Jaden Daniels. Don't get me wrong. But this is also because I think Jaden could very well be ahead of Jordan Love. I'm not going to sit here and say that this is definitive. I just see too often where as soon as the film hits, these quarterbacks tend to take a step back in year 2. And Jordan Love, once again, was one of the best quarterbacks in the second half of last year. He did that in year 1, and then he got hurt, but then he really picked it up towards the end in year 2. So I think that we saw what Jordan Love could be. And I think he kind of puts together a more consistent season. But I'm very high on Jaden Daniels also.
Okay, so I was looking over my list, and I realized why our numbers have been off. I forgot to type in Flacco, who I know we had at the bottom of the list. For some reason, I didn't type him in. I don't know why.
I literally kept looking at my list.
Yeah, I kept trying to figure out why you were one off, and yeah, it's because Flacco I forgot to put in. I think we had Flacco. Where did we have Flacco? Was it?
No, that's why. That's the only reason I was confused because I'm like, I kept looking at the list like, am I missing someone? Because I feel like I'm off.
Yeah, it was me missing somebody. Yeah, where did we settle on Flacco? Was it 20?
Flacco? That was 30.
30, yes. Okay. So let me add him in. Okay. All right. So now we've got it. So Love was 7. So now we're up to 6, and now I have it correctly.
Okay. For 6, give me, and John's going to probably jump me outside my house for this one, but give me Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford was still a guy who was literally one play away from knocking off the champs in the Eagles. He's still shown to be a high-level quarterback. I think there could be some, signs of regressions, but at the end of the day, this is a guy that was still an elite quarterback last year who was very, very close to punching another ticket to the conference finals. I just straight up went full basketball there, but that's all right.
Right.
No, give me Matthew Stafford at 6. I have nothing but respect for that man, and I think that even if you show some signs of regression from Stafford, I think that's still a top 10 quarterback because he doesn't rely on over athleticism. He majorly relies on just kind of staying upright in the pocket and making the right reads. Like, just the way his play style is, unless if his like body completely falls apart on him, I don't see a reason why he still can't be the 6th best quarterback or a top 10 quarterback next year.
Okay. I'll just update the list. So Stafford 6. Got it. I actually had Stafford at 6 as well. And look, I'm one of those who, like, a couple of seasons ago, I thought when he had like the neck fusion surgery, I thought that was going to be it for Stafford. And he continues to make those throws. And I know the Patriots were bad last season, but I watched that game with them against the Rams. Stafford still has it. Like he still is a quick decision maker, still has a strong arm. So I can't be mad at Stafford here at 6. Here comes the hate. Number 5, Lamar Jackson.
Well, we already have Lamar at 32, so we ain't got to worry about him.
Yeah. Okay. Who's 5?
Give me... Now, this could very well be disrespectful, but give me Jalen Hurts here. I know some people find it disrespectful, and I think that's okay. Jalen Hurts kind of gets held back. His like overall passing stats will always be held back by having such a strong run game. But I think he is a top 5 quarterback. I think he always just, he has been. He was last year. He clearly will be again this year. I love what Jalen Hurts did last year. I don't buy into this talk that he was carried by a strong O-line, by his defense, by his coach. Jalen Hurts gives me strong, and Kyle, you'll appreciate this, he gives me strong Jason Tatum vibes where you can say that he has a strong team around him, but he's clearly the guy holding it all together. So Jalen Hurts, this could be disrespectful because he could still jump up a couple spots. But I think next year, at the end of the year, Jalen Hurts, 5th best quarterback in the league.
I think Hurts at 5 is respectful. I think the problem was so many people like leaving him out of the top 10. I think that's where a lot of people are looking at the disrespect. And I think another comment I left on the morning show was Hurts, for some reason, because of how good the Eagles are, he gets knocked for it. Whereas I don't know if he's your number 4, but I had Lamar at number 4 because looking at the regular season, I have Lamar at 4. If it was for the postseason, he'd be a lot lower. But like Lamar has had great teams around him, and people make excuses for when the Ravens don't perform in the playoffs. And I feel like that's a weird dynamic between the two of them. So yeah, I fully agree with you. Like, you can have a talented team, but if Hurts wasn't good enough, they would just be looked as a major failure, whereas they're seen as one of the best organizations in the league for a reason. So yeah, I've Lamar at 4. Who's your 4?
So this one might be controversial to some.
Is it Mahomes?
It is Mahomes.
Okay.
I think Patrick Mahomes will be the 4th best quarterback in the league this next year. Okay. Now, I understand that Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the NFL. I do understand that. He's the greatest quarterback that we've seen, like, in a long while. But the best player isn't always the best player every year. And I think we're looking at another year of Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs being better and winning games with situational football. I don't think Patrick Mahomes is going to blow you away with the gaudy stat lines. Mm-hmm. I think Patrick Mahomes will win games on the ground and making timely throws. I think the problem you're running into also is Travis Kelce. He's getting old. You saw it. He looked like gassed at the end of the year. He had one resurgent game against the Texans, and then he just looked cooked. And if we are looking at a year next year where I'm thinking that we're getting a washed Travis Kelce, then Mahomes is going to struggle a ton. I still think he's a top 5 quarterback next year, and I acknowledge his greatness that he is the best quarterback in the league right now. But I don't think that he's going to be a top 3 quarterback overall in the year 2025, 2026 when it's all said and done.
I mean, that's a good case for him at 4. Like I said, I had Lamar at 4. I also didn't do Mahomes at 1, but I think most people would agree because once again we're looking at regular season next season, but the top 4 are all the same depending how you put them. So I guess at 4 we're between Mahomes and Lamar. So I guess chat. Who do you agree with here at 4?
Like I said, yeah,
I'm assuming Damon's gonna go Lamar since he said if Lamar's in the top 3, he's leaving.
Hey, that's fine, that's fine, Damien. I like Patrick Mahomes. I respect him, but I think with the weapons around him just deteriorating, I think they'll have to win more games by situational football.
Okay. So John agrees Mahomes at 4. Who's 3?
Yeah, this is where I'm gonna have to put. And this is so tough. We got 1, 2, and 3. Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow.
Yep.
But I'm going to go. This might be wild that after the year he had, but man, I'm going to. I'm going to go Josh Allen at 3.
Okay. I mean, look, we have Mahomes at 4. Lamar would then become my 3 because he's the lowest I have left. So you have Allen at 3. I guess same situation. Lamar or Allen at 3. Let's see. Damien put Josh Allen at 4. Okay. John put Burrow at 3.
That's the thing.
To break the tie.
That's the thing with that's the kind of the thing with Joe Burrow. I thought he would have been the clear-cut MVP if the fucking Bengals could get a stop.
Exactly.
Burrow played at an MVP. Hey, I'm sorry for doing that to you, Anthony. I apologize. All right.
I mean, that's true. Like, you look at the 2 Ravens games, like, if the defense could make a stop, Burrow probably gets those 2 wins, and the Bengals season looks so much different.
Here's the thing, though. Who was the better quarterback last year? It felt like Lamar Jackson was the better quarterback than Josh Allen last year. Josh Allen won the MVP.
Mm-hmm.
But it felt like that should have been Lamar Jackson. And the funny part with that is, like, the year Lamar actually won the MVP, his most recent one, I didn't think he was the best quarterback in the league. But now last year, it felt like Lamar Jackson, probably that last year should have been his MVP. I think that was his best year he ever had, and that's the one he doesn't get. Just, life has a weird way of working itself out, but...
That's fair.
I don't judge games based on who beat, player X beat player B in one game because there's so much that goes into that.
I mean, look, I do have Josh Allen higher than Lamar, and I feel like, they're both mobile quarterbacks. I feel like I trust Josh's arm more than Lamar's. Although Josh, now he wasn't as bad with it last year, but Josh's whole thing was decision making. And he kind of toned that down last season, and I feel like that's why we saw the best Josh Allen. I mean, Jory and I used to talk about it on Passion and Precision all the time. Like, Josh Allen had the tendency of just throwing deep balls just to throw them. There'd be like 4 defenders in the area, and he would just lob it up there for no reason. Didn't get that a lot last year. And that's kind of why I got to put Lamar behind those guys. But, I mean, your argument for Lamar, I get it. And even Anthony put, Lamar didn't get MVP because of Derrick Henry, because Derrick Henry had a really great season. And, Henry actually could have had a better season last year, but, that's play calling and everything else that went into that. But I I feel like this is where it is tough because you don't want to sound like you're necessarily hating on a guy not putting them at one, but it's like you said, there's a lot of actual good talent at the quarterback position up here towards the top. So I could hear any argument for ranking the four guys that we had left in any way, and I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense to me. Sure. But he
Say,
didn't do it last year because it did. And that's true, John. They took Diggs away from him, which Diggs was kind of Josh Allen's out to just lob it up there and force Josh Allen to play differently.
no, that I think you can go either way. Like, listen, I think the top like four are just like maybe like the top five to me are just fluid. Like one week it's going to look like Patrick Mahomes is back, best quarterback in the NFL for that year, and then next week it could be Josh Allen. Like it is what it is, but it's funny because even in that Ravens versus Bills game, like I thought that ironically Josh Allen took better care of the football, but overall, especially after that hot streak, like it felt like Lamar always just like outplayed him.
I
It's
think
just
I
not
mean I think
like
Lamar had better numbers in that game, but like you said, Josh Allen
and
Josh
Josh
Allen
Allen,
played a more conservative game, which we weren't prepared to see Josh Allen actually do.
that was the beauty of that Josh Allen game, how well he took care of the football. But I
Yeah.
do respect that. But I do think that Lamar Jackson looked like the better quarterback. Just sometimes it's better to take care of the ball, and Josh Allen, did that. And unfortunately, outside of Lamar in that game, we had key drops, not even including the last Mark Andrews ones. There's just mistakes littered all over that team.
Mm-hmm.
It comes back to every year we talk about how the Ravens are so good, but they always just fall apart in the playoffs. They like lose their composure and discipline, and that clearly happened again last year. So
Yep. Yeah, that's true. Kansas City Dynasty is about to be over after this year when Andy Reid retires. My cousin's brother-in-law, this was his niece. He told her that this is last year. That's why Mahomes restructured his contract. That middle line's crazy. Cousin's brother-in-law's future wife
sure,
is
like
like, okay. I mean, look, the same way people towards the end of the Patriots dynasty wanted it to end, I feel like people have been kind of talking about the downfall of Kansas City for like two years now. And to kind of switch sports, when you look at the Houston Astros, I say the same thing about them every year. Until a team in that division steps up and shows me that they are going to take Kansas City down, I think there's a little bit of life left in it. Now the Chargers are definitely on their heels, like that's for sure. So maybe it is the end. I don't know. And yeah, Andy Reid obviously isn't going to coach forever. Okay, so Allen at 3 is 2 Lamar, or do you have Burrow at 2?
at 2, give me Lamar Jackson, which means that I
Okay,
think
so you
the
have
best
Burrow at 1.
quarterback in the NFL next year, and ironically, who I think is going to win the MVP of the league is Joe Burrow. I think last year
How
we
many wins
got
are the Bengals going to have then?
I think last year I feel like Joe Burrow played at his absolute best, and I
Mm-hmm.
think that this year I think he's going to be even better. That's the scary part. I think he's going to be motivated to do even better, and I think that's what scares me. And I think that this team
He's going
could
to be
very
forced
well
to.
say I think this team could very well end up beating the Browns, and they're going to jump the Steelers. I think they're going to get into a dogfight with the Ravens for the division. I think it'll be hard with their defense at times, but I think if Joe Burrow can play at an MVP level, I think he can make some history by winning MVP by on a wild card team. Because I think even dragging this team to the wild card would be an insane feat.
Okay. if going off of who wins the Super Bowl out of the three, give me Allen, then Burrow, then Lamar. But regular season, Allen, Lamar, Burrow. So we are doing this regular season because it's hard to kind of, yeah. So that's interesting. So if it was the postseason, you'd go Allen, Burrow, Lamar, but then you go Allen, Lamar, Burrow for the regular season. Yeah, okay, I see what you're saying. And look, the pressure is definitely there on the three of them. Kind of to go with John's previous point about the Kansas City dynasty, like Mahomes is going to win, titles forever. Somebody's got to kind of fill in. And looking at your list and list that most people have, the next three best quarterbacks in a quarterback-driven league are those three. Which one of them is going to break through first? And
yeah,
I guess if we were to rank the three, maybe Burrow, Allen, and Lamar is the chances of them getting their ring first.
Yeah, no, it's always so much. It's so much fun to do lists like this. And listen, I already know listen, if we drop this, I already know I'm going to get a lot of hate. That's perfectly fine. I love it. But no, it's just so much fun. I would love to see history of Joe Burrow winning the MVP on a wild card team and sending everybody into a frenzy. TB coming back, get on the Saints and win it all. LOL.
TB coming back and get on the Saints and win it all. Yeah. If he does that, sure.
You could give the Saints like some fusion of prime Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, and Aaron Rodgers, and they'd still win like 8 games.
Yeah.
Like he like say, unfortunately, screen passes and wheel routes to Alvin Kamara only go so far.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so look, we got our 32. I'll probably think of some graphic or something to put together for it, and either put up a wire to wire, or maybe like next week start the show off with it so everybody can see it, and whatever. But we'll figure that out.
Yeah, no,
so I guess quickly just go ahead.
Hey, I'm just saying, make sure that people know that this is for next year. I promise Patrick
Mahomes
is the best quarterback in the league.
Yeah. No, yeah, I'll definitely put that on the graphic because some people might look at this and be like, oh my God, what are these guys talking about? It's like just forecasting next regular season. This is how we lay out the 32. So I will just repeat the top 10 at least for people as we are getting ready to get out of here. Well, at least the list wasn't biased like Fox was. Exactly. We aren't like them. So we got Burrow, Lamar, Allen, Mahomes, Hurts, Stafford, Love, Daniels, Dak, Williams as our top 10.
No, and it's funny because I don't really like to do bias, and that's kind of like I love Caleb Williams, and I think that he's going to make a big jump this year. I can't say enough good things about Caleb Williams.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's going to make a great jump this year.
Yeah.
I want to say Jared Goff's might be the most interesting one though, because obviously they lost Ben Johnson, they lost Aaron Glenn, like that Lions team. Mm-hmm. It'll be interesting. I say, granted, I'm not going to count them out. I think that obviously the guy who got them ready was Dan Campbell. I think he's very great at coaching development. Obviously, as 2 of his staffers have gone on to become head coaches already. Mm-hmm. So I will say, I do want to throw this out there. It's not all doom and gloom for the Lions. I get it. They lost 2 coaches, but I know a lot of people are saying that, but make sure you take a deep breath and can't believe I'm saying this, but give Detroit a fair shake.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, and then obviously that'll be something later on in the off season where we will kind of give our, playoff teams and everything like that. I think the way people look at Detroit, there are some who think they take like some massive step back. I kind of agree with you. I don't know if it's gonna be that big of a step back, but yeah, just looking at the quarterback rankings, because I was telling you kind of before we came on, it's like there's like clusters of quarterbacks that are so similar that's where it gets interesting with ranking these. Because if you're looking at, even like the Williams, Baker, Goff, Herbert, Stroud area, like that's an interesting group. Because I do think to some, Stroud would probably be viewed as the best of that group. but just taking into account, last season and everything like that, he may be the rest of the group. It's only because we thought so highly of him in his rookie season. That last season was such a stark contrast. It's like, where does he fall? Is he more rookie season? Is he more last season? Is he somewhere in the middle? Like, that's where it's so interesting with some of these guys. You just don't know.
Absolutely. And here's the
I
thing
hope
with
Caleb does something.
I do think Stafford could finish outside the top 8, but the thing with me, John, is I don't think he showed me anything that he didn't do anything that showed me he's not going to be a top 10 quarterback. Like, you can normally see signs of regression unless your name's like Peyton Manning. But, like, Stafford didn't really show me that. Like, he showed me that even if he does slightly regress next year, a slightly regressed Stafford, still a top 7 quarterback next year. A, moderately regressed Stafford is still a top 10 quarterback next year. He played at such a high level that I think even some regression, it still keeps him in top 7 talks. Unless he just falls apart like Manning, but I don't see that happening.
Because pulling up, let's see, Stafford last year, he's 30. He was 36 last year. Played in 16 games. He started 16 games, so durability. What was his numbers like? About 3,800 passing yards, 20 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. But he's also like 3 years removed from having a 41 touchdown season. And okay, so Damien has a question. I guess we could probably end with that. Do we think Stafford is a Hall of Famer?
Yes.
So my whole thing has always been, how people are looking at Eli as like this no doubt about it first ballot guy. I kept telling people, if you put Eli in, then you can't then turn around and tell me that guys like Stafford, Matt Ryan, Phillip Rivers, guys like that aren't Hall of Famers. So I agree with you. I think Stafford gets in. I know he had a lot of losing in Detroit, but he put up numbers.
So
that does help him as well.
He won that ring, which I think just kind of solidified it. The thing with Stafford is he always elevated those guys around him, right? We're talking about Calvin Johnson, obviously, was setting records with Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford leaves. All of a sudden, Golden Tate looks like a reliable number 1 option for a few years. He comes over to the Rams. Cooper Kupp goes from looking like a pretty solid receiver, but nothing special, to winning a Triple Crown. And now Puka Nacua. Like, this is a guy that always comes over wherever he is and elevates the entire offense. I know people try to hold Detroit against them, but at the same time, did we watch the same, 2010 Lions team? They were a mess. They were terrible. They made the playoffs once, but they couldn't stop changing their coaches, and they could not find good defensive weapons ever. Or good running backs, unless you're a really avid Javid Best man. The running back rooms were terrible. He had no run game. The defenses were normally atrocious. They had Ndamukong Suh, and he was their entire defense. I think Stafford just gets underrated because people just look at losing and go, well, it's the quarterback's fault. That's not always the case. That would be like me saying the Bengals were losers last year because of Burrow. There he's not. It was everything around him. And I think that applies to Stafford in Detroit. It wasn't Stafford losing. It was just the team as a whole. Obviously, of course he has some part of that. But a majority of that's going to go to just how poorly run and dysfunctional Detroit was. Because he is just set up to fail. There's no other way to put it. Exactly, Damien.
Yeah. I mean, look, Detroit forced Barry Sanders and Calvin Johnson to retire early. That kind of tells you about the organization. Now, luckily, they're on a different track now with Campbell and everything like that. So better days ahead for them. But yeah, it was dark a lot of those days in Detroit for Stafford. So yeah, I agree with you. Stafford is going to be a Hall of Famer. But I think that's a good place to end it. Appreciate all of you in the chat that did help out with the list. I don't know. We might have to do another one next week or in a couple of weeks. We'll Brett and I will kind of decide that. But Brett.
If,
Oh, go ahead. Good.
I was gonna say, if there's a list you guys want to see, just let us know. And like I said, I'm not gonna sit here and I don't try to do like, oh well, this guy's the best, so I'm just gonna put him here. Like, I like to have fun. Let's try to predict what they're gonna do next year. It's too boring to me to do. Oh, who's the best receiver? Well, I can tell you what Justin Jefferson's name is. Like, that's easy enough. So yeah, if there's any list or anything you guys want to see, just let us know.
Right. Yeah. So, maybe we'll give you guys next week to think about one, and if during the show you want to tell us a list, we'll do the list like the week after or something like that. But yeah, so Brett, John put tight ends. Okay. All right. I mean, look, I'm down to do tight ends as well. So, Brett, let them know what you got coming up next. Anything you want to add before we get out of here?
No, thank you guys for tuning in. It was a ton of fun. You can see me in like 5 or 10 minutes. I got a quick turnaround. We're going to do Meaty Boys. We're going to be predicting a lot of all the different wrestling going on this weekend. Got 3 different shows this weekend to talk about. So if you like wrestling, just, make sure to tune in. Check out me, Mo, and we got a special guest this week. He'll be in the house. So
yeah. So yeah, like you said, if you're a wrestling fan, stick around. They'll be back in a couple minutes to discuss all of that. Look, for me, I'll be back on here Friday with Jory, Passion and Precision. We will also be we'll be doing some interesting stuff on there as well. We're gonna do some WNBA, and we're also gonna start doing some NFL lists of our own. So tune in on Friday for that. You'll get Jory and I. It won't be quarterback, so don't worry. It's not gonna be the same thing. We're gonna do a different list. I'm not gonna give it all away. So you gotta tune in Friday for that. So for myself, for Brett, we'll go ahead and get out of here. John put safeties. Okay, Brett and I will decide which one we'll do. So we'll get out of here. Make sure you're back here next week, Tuesday, for another edition of On the Ball. We'll keep you up with NBA free and see if anything happens. We'll do another NFL list, whether tight end or safety. John, we'll let you know. But like I said, come back, check out the other stuff on the network. Get your morning started, coffee and sports. Make sure you like, subscribe, follow, all the good stuff. We'll see you next week. We're out of here. All right.